And what's interesting about this is important from a client perspective, but it's also important from an agency perspective. I'm on calls still to this day. It's actually getting worse now that we're nerd famous. People are like, all right, so this is going to work, right? And I'm like, your guess is as good as mine. If you're an in-house employee working for an organization using Google Ads, these 5 things are going to save your life. I promise you. There are 5 things that I want you to understand before you run Google Ads. And what's interesting about this is important from a client perspective, but it's also important from an agency perspective. If you're an agency, a freelancer, a provider, if you're an in-house employee working for an organization using Google Ads, these 5 things are going to save your life. I promise you. One of the things I tell people all the time is, we're one of the top Google Ads agencies on the planet. Now, part of that is proficiency, of course. We're good at what we do. But the other part of that is the fact that we've done a really good job with expectation management, with letting people know this is what's possible, this is what isn't, this is what you need to be concerned with, afraid of, here are the risks. We do nothing but negative selling all the time. And people like it because it's honest, it's truthful. So what I'd ask of you and for you is you do the exact same thing regardless of where your position is. And that's what these 5 things are really going to center on. So thing number 1, numero uno, there are 0 performance guarantees. There are no performance guarantees. According to Google's own data, 50% of all Google ad campaigns fail in the first 90 days. Quick disclaimer, by the way, somebody on Twitter called me out in a very, very friendly way. They're like, hey man, where is the citation for this data point? And what's so infuriating to me is I can't find it. It was a note that I took when I went through Google certification way before it was even inside of Skillshare. I don't know if y'all remember that, but I got my Google certification, and in my notebook I wrote down half of all Google ad campaigns fail in the first 90 days. And I didn't take a screenshot. I didn't write it down. So really, I have no citation whatsoever. I might as well just be making this up. The reason that I'm being as aggressive with it is because even if that's not true, the point behind it still stands. It's just a very it's a solid articulation of the argument. The other data point that Google sterilized from the web that I thought was really interesting was the 72 million demographic and psychographic profiling factors on every human on the planet. That used to be on YouTube ads homepage. When you were looking at YouTube ads specifically, Google was like, we have 72 million factors. And then all of a sudden, right around the time of like the congressional hearings and Cambridge Analytica, that stuff just went away. And I wish I grabbed screenshots of it. So note for you, if you see something that's really compelling from a data perspective, screenshot it. Because if it goes away, you don't have the ability to offer citations, and then you just sound like an idiot when you tell people what you know. So regardless of how many Google ad campaigns fail in the first 90 days, it's a tax relevant number, and there's no way for you to know that a campaign is going to be successful. I don't care if you run that exact same type of campaign. Oops, hit my mic. I don't run if you run the exact same type of campaign in the exact same industry in the exact same geography. It's too dynamic. So if an agency is offering you performance guarantees, they're either desperate or they don't understand what they're saying. And that tends to happen more often than I care to admit, to be honest with you. I just see people and I'm like, you can't say the words that you just said. There's no way that you could know that. No performance guarantees, period, full stop. If you're the agency offering performance guarantees, stop that. Now, you can say things like, if it doesn't work, I'll give you your money back. Fine. That's not a performance guarantee. That's risk assumption. But you can't guarantee someone that a Google ad campaign will function. The day that you can guarantee that, stop selling Google ads and go start buying businesses because you can just mint money. Which, by the way, that's a really good note. If somebody really could guarantee performance, they wouldn't be giving it to you. If you had a magic metal detector that found gold, you wouldn't go try to sell the metal detector, right? You just go mine gold. So, number 1, 0 guarantees. Stop offering guarantees. Stop believing in guarantees. Stop asking for guarantees. I'm on calls still to this day. It's actually getting worse now that we're nerd famous. People are like, all right, so this is going to work, right? And I'm like, your guess is as good as mine at this point, man. You know, some of you know more about this stuff than I do. So it's a test, it's an experiment, and we're going to do it the right way, and we're vested, but there's no way to promise it. All right, I beat that horse to death. Numero dos. Google Ads can only be as successful as your business model. This is one of the things that gets really frustrating really quickly for the ad manager. I don't know your industry. I don't know your model. I don't know what you offer. I don't know how competitive it is. I don't know how well you're priced. And I will never really know, right? Unless I invest with you or I end up with equity in your business or I open a new business. So in so many ways, I'm just trusting you. You're like, yeah, people are going to buy this for this amount of money on these terms in this way. And for us, it's like, cool, bro, I believe you. I assume that you've done some level of, market test, anecdotal study, proof of concept. Um, but if your business model is flawed, there's a great quote by Bill Gates. He says that automation can't fix inefficiency. Automation applied to an inefficient process only amplifies the inefficiency. That's it. Google Ads is the same way. Google Ads applied to an inefficient business model only amplifies the inefficiencies of that business. So if your sales cycle, let's say, is flawed or too long or broken, Google Ads isn't going to fix that. It's just going to show you that. And that, by the way, is a huge value proposition. Like, Google Ads can really help improve the efficacy of your business if you're willing to pay attention to what it teaches you. But your business model needs to be sound. And here's what's really interesting, coming from the Google guy. I don't think Google Ads is a great place to go test a business model. Unless you have a ton of time. No, what am I saying? Unless you have a ton of money and not a ton of time. If you got, you're like, dude, I just got VC backed. We've got a bunch of money. We have to move fast. Great. Google Ads is the best place to be. If you have more money than time. And that is some people, by the way. I've had people come to us saying exactly that. But if you got more time than money, go make these mistakes in a far less expensive ecosystem, because paying, paid traffic to make some of these mistakes, like, how are you articulating your value proposition? What is it that you need to say before somebody buys? Are you sure you're going after the right buyers? Are you sure this is the audience that resonates with this product or service? Do you have your products and services bundled properly and appropriately? Are you describing them the way they need to be described? Are you priced competitively? Are you priced too competitively? This happens as often as people being too expensive. They're too cheap. There's no meat left on the bone. They're selling products that are loss leaders, and they don't realize that after the loss leader, there's nothing that follows. So make sure your business model is sound, and I wouldn't test that assumption inside of the paid traffic sphere. I'd find a way to do that a little bit more feet on the street. Number 3, Google Ads takes time and it takes money. Y'all, it's just an XY axis, right? The more time you have, the more, what am I saying? The more time you have, the less money it's going to take. The more money you have, the less time it's going to take. Usually it's somewhere in the middle. But if you have an excess of money, you can speed it up to a degree. You can't accelerate it past a certain point. But if you have an excess of time, then you can spend a little bit less. If we had years, we could probably crack the code on Google Ads for $1 a day in some industries. Maybe not anymore, though, with Google's minimum thresholds, which is a total scam, by the way. It's a total scam. I'm so mad at them for doing that. But you have to have time and money. And those are the two things that a lot of businesses do not have, by the way. This is not a glitch. I'm interrupting the video you're watching because I want to remind you that we provide done-for-you Google Ads services. We're the #1 ranked Google Ads agency on the planet with almost $100 million in ad spend under management. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, C-level exec, director of marketing, and you're managing your own Google Ads, I think that's a massively inefficient use of your time. As a matter of fact, in my experience, within 90 days, we're able to optimize existing campaigns to a point to where we're paying for ourselves. We move from being a cost center to a profit center. And I want to put my time and my money where my mouth is. If you're spending $10,000 a month or more in Google Ads, I want to offer you a free, no obligation action plan. A high-level member of my team, one of our strategists, will look at your account, open the hood, and do a full diagnostic and explain everything that we would recommend that you change in order to optimize your campaigns. You can take that, do it yourself. You can hand it to an internal member of your team, or in an ideal world, you can hire us. I'd love the opportunity to earn your business. Please go to sol8.com. That's sol8.com. Request your free action plan. Until then, back to your regularly scheduled program. Don't run Google Ads if you don't have an adequate ad spend. Trying to shoestring Google Ads it's an absolute flawed model. And don't spend money you don't have. I don't want your rent money. I don't want your rent money. Only spend the money that you're willing to gamble. Because in the first 90 days, man, it's educated guesswork. It's not gambling per se, but it's damn close sometimes. Google Ads is going to change all the time. All the time. I think right now they're trying to kill standard shopping. And I think that because standard shopping is working. And so why wouldn't they kill it? I think they're going to take away manual CPC. I think we pretty much have confirmation of that from the rumor mill. you can't get romantic about the way that you're making your money. You can't get romantic about the way that you're running your ads. You can't get romantic about where your traffic is coming from. And if as soon as you crack the code inside of Google Ads, it changes. It's Murphy's Law. So you just have to know that going into it. It's why agencies exist. Because otherwise you could just hire us, wait till we crack the code and fire us. Which, by the way, people do all the time. They hire us, we have the campaign perform. They're like, all right, good job, boys. We'll take it from here. And then they take the campaign internally. And then the internal mantra, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but the soundbite internally is like, yeah, they'll be back. Just wait. Just, first big algo change. And then they come, tail tucked. And they're like, hey, guys, we don't know what happened. And now it's like, but then they never leave again. Now they know, this is how, because, and it's always way worse than had they stuck around. And there's a big reason for that too. I've got $100 million in ad spend. I get to see all sorts of multivariate ways in different environments, how this is being impacted, and I'll probably see it before you do. So, wow, I just sold you really hard on the agency. I don't necessarily think you have to be with an agency long-term, by the way. You can have some really solid internal resources or do it yourself. But, for whatever it's worth, come hire Solution Take. And number 5, and this is one I don't hit often, Google Ads is the most powerful advertising platform, period, full stop. And I think that that's important to understand too. Here's why I think it's important to understand. You have to go into it knowing that it can work. I feel this way with so many things in life. You can't summit Kilimanjaro unless you believe it's possible. And maybe be a little less extreme, like you can't lose weight, right? Fitness, like you just have to go in with the belief that something's possible. Google Ads is possible. Success is possible. You've seen it. You've seen it over and over and over again with other businesses, competitors, etc. It's possible for you. You just got to keep at it. Hang on. So often the people that are most successful in any industry, they're not the best or the brightest or the smartest or the best funded. They're just the ones that were, obstinate enough to just stick around. And you start to kind of get that feeling too when you're around them. It's like, oh, you're just bullheaded. I see what happened here. Y'all, I'm writing a Twitter thread every day. Go follow me on Twitter. We're sending out a newsletter that's jam-packed full of all the content that we're creating. Go sign up for our newsletter. And if I missed anything, what are the things that you think people should know before they run Google Ads? What are I've got my 5 things. What are yours? Hit me in the comments. I think that's all I got. I really appreciate y'all. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your attention. Appreciate those of you that bought our book, wrote a review, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow me on socials. This is getting pretty cool. It's getting pretty fun to, experience the other end of all of this hard work. We've been a couple years into all this content creation, and then all of a sudden I woke up and I'm nerd famous. So thank you for that. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of Gads Girls. We're your hosts, Mel and Leandra.
Hi, thank you for joining us again to our second episode of Gads Girls. If you didn't tune in last week, Gads Girls is taking it right back to the basics. So we know that you get a lot of really high level strategy from Cosm and John,